This week, some internal issues pop up in Northern Coalition. I provide some clarification on the two events that involved No Handlebars last week. FI.RE and INIT have a week of conflict, Siege Green double dip, and FAPI are under pressure from the north. Hello pod people, I'm Frost and this is your weekly EVE Online update. Welcome back. So as always, the first thing that we're going to do is announce the winners of the prize draw for the Ravenscope syndication skins from last week's episode. So that's the 5th of July. And my winners are Trace Aboza and Kraken616 or Kraken616. So congratulations to my two winners. As always, I have two more skins to give away later on in the show. Also, I'm going to bring up my favorite comment as well, which was Erwin Madelung, who actually put in the lyrics from Super Trooper by ABBA. So there you go. So that was my favorite comment from last week. And as always, like I said, we'll have the prize draw later on in the show for this week. All right, so let's get on with the news. First up, Northern Coalition, or NC DOT. They have had some internal strife, and it revolves around a corporation called Original Sinners, who are right here. And as you can see, as of right now, they are still in Northern Coalition. So let me see if I can get my pen up and running. Let me just press that button here. And there we go, we should be good. There we go. So Northern, as you can see right now, they're still in Northern Coalition. But I actually have a tune in PanFam, and actually if you look at the standings, you'll see that whilst the standings towards Northern Coalition as a whole are fine, they're set to -10, in other words, red, for the actual corp itself. And so therefore this means that Original Sinners will not be able to redock if they undock from any of the PanFam structures in the drone lands and also in T5Z. So potentially a problem for there. Now the reason why I want to mention this is mostly due to the certain people that are within this corporation. So the actual corporation itself only accounts for like less than 10% of the coalition, or sorry, the alliance as a whole. But some of the FCs in the US time zone are primarily from this group within PanFam. So that's Pittsburgh, Brother Bob, Blazing Bunny, and Joey Zam. Joey Zam, if you remember from a few months ago, got a name for himself for fleet warping or inviting Imperium supers on the 1DQ1-A Keepstar into fleet and warping them off and then dread bombing them. And they managed to catch quite a few doing that. And Pittsburgh, if I remember correctly, was doing quite a lot of the FAPI assemble coalition fleets a while back as well. So yeah, interesting to see how that's going to play out. Obviously, we'll come and revisit this next week and see if Original Sinners are still within Northern Coalition and whether the issue's been resolved or whether they've gone their separate ways. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to quickly go back to the map and we're going to look at various areas. We're going to be looking at the north, kind of sort of Fade, Pureblind, the Forge Metropolis, Veil of the Silence of kind of fraternity space, just covering what's happening between fraternity and Snuffed Out over up in the north there. Then we're going to go down and go towards Kurth's, Wicked Creek, Scalding Pass, all around this area, because there we're going to see Fire Coalition and the Initiative have kind of been going at it. And then we're going to have a quick look at Catch, and then we're going to have a quick look as well at Fountain. And those are kind of the main areas that we're going to be covering this week in the show. Right, so let's start with this northern area. So first up, there was an Asbel that died in Veil of the Silent, an Asbel, and right here in FPE P3EN-E. If you remember last week in OB, there was a Fortizar that belonged to Snuffed Out that was destroyed. This Asbel was actually anchored at the same time, but it was destroyed later due to the ADMs taking effect on the anchoring time being fraternity space. Now, it was quite rightly pointed out to me as well that in OB, obviously we have 4 stations there. So Snuffed Out are able to still stage out of OB quite easily and do dread bombs and so forth. And primarily the Fortizar and the Asbel were mainly to provide clone facilities to Snuffed Out. So Snuffed Out have also been killing other structures. They actually killed the Fortizar in Ophage, which is in Metropolis on the border with the Forge. And the main thing here was that you could see that it was pretty much uncontested because they did drop like a hell and just literally 8 other toons, mostly bombers, were able to take this out. So that's a pretty good sign that that was uncontested. So in fact, is there anything else that happened in that area? No, that's pretty much it. So that's the north covered. So that was a very, very quick little recap there. Oh, hang on, let me go back. There we go. And then we're going to go to our universe map, and we are going to go to, that's right, Lone Trek Incarnate. So last week, if you remember, I talked about 2 battle reports that involved No Handlebars. And there were some inaccuracies in these statements. No Handlebars were really nice. They reached out to me and talked to me and let me know exactly what wasn't right. And I'd like to say for now as well that I have quite a few contacts with the New Eden, but I don't have contacts with everybody. Making those initial contacts can be very, very difficult. And so I have to sometimes kind of take a slight guess as to what is going on. So I may not be 100% accurate. If that's the case, then do get in touch with me if you're one of the groups involved and we've not had discussions before. Reach out to me through my Discord, which is always linked in the description, and then I can catch up, and then I can do like I'm doing this week and bring everybody up to speed with any inconsistencies that have been in my reports previously. All right, so this regards the 4 supercarriers that died last week. So the main thing that I want to clarify here is the circumstances of the double bait. So the way that it actually happened was there was a Black Ops group who are based out of Lone Trek, who are called You Are Dunked, and they are the ones that kind of set the bait. And the bait was that the first bait, should I say, was this Varga. So No Handlebars dropped a Varga with the intent of baiting You Are Dunked. So You Are Dunked, then, is this the right way around? No, sorry, let me start again. Okay, so yeah, the Varga was dropped first, then You Are Dunked responded, then the Redeemers from No Handlebars dropped in, and at this point the double bait happened. And so You Are Dunked dropped carriers, and if you remember, these were carriers with tackle, and also a raw call. And the raw call wasn't the bait, the raw call was actually a tackle raw call. They then forced, with these carriers being dropped on grid, along with an apostle to rep the Varga, I believe. Then at that point, No Handlebars dropped their supers in. At this point, then You Are Dunked lit a Sino. The Sino then brought in the Volta fleet, which were the Revelation, the Zealots, and all the Devoters. The Devoters then tackled the supers, and then Snuffed Out came in and dropped all their dreads and killed everything. So there we go. So once again, I'll link the videos below. But there were 2 videos last week that I'd quoted, one from the No Handlebars side, one from kind of the Volta Snuffed Out You Are Dunked side. I'll link those both in the description. You can look at those again. Hopefully that clarifies a little bit what's going on. It was a pretty crazy kind of situation, but hopefully that brings us all up to speed. Then the other one I need to cover was FA. So in FA, we talked about the fact that we had some Revelation and an Apostle that died on the high set gate, and also that the Tempest died from the No Handlebars fleet. So what I need to clarify here was that last week there were 2 Apostles that were on the Astra House helping the Tempest, giving reps to the Tempest whilst they were defending the Astra House. Now I thought that potentially some of these had fleet warped. That's not the case. Both those Apostles sinoed out as the Astra House died. The Tempest fleet then warped to the high set gate, and then I stated that it was believed it was an aggression timer that got them caught on the gate. That was not the case. What actually happened was that when the Tempest fleet arrived on the gate, the Leshaks from Exiled Gaming were already there, and it was down to a criminal status issue that most of the people in No Handlebars have criminal status. So if they had jumped into HiSec at that point, Exiled Gaming could also jump in, and at that point it would be an execution because due to the criminal status, they could be shot at by the Exiled Gaming and Brave Collective and Legacy Coalition, but they would not be able to shoot back. So they decided to stay on the low side of the gate and fight it out. Now, the Revelation then was dropped in along with the Apostle. So the Apostle was to give reps to the Tempest and primarily to this Vindy. This Vindy was kind of critical. It was providing webs for the Revelation. So the Revelation, I didn't know if it was a whore fit or a cap fit. It was actually a cap fit. And because it was a capital guns fit, It really needed that Vindicator to be able to web the battleships, the Leshaks, to a halt in order to be able to track it properly. I believe the FC as well was flying in a Loki and had some webs. That's Manila and Talori there. Also had some webs, so potentially that was a second ship. Now this Vindy ran into trouble and got primaried by the Leshaks and had to jump into high sec because the Apostle wasn't fast enough to get in. Then it had to burn back to the gate, jump back in to then be able to be repped by the Apostle and then help the Revelation be able to do its tracking. So there you go. So that's pretty much what would happen. Obviously the Tempest fleet died, but it died with guns blazing, and the decision was made by No Handlebars to rather than be executed, to just fight to the last man. So there we go. So that's what happened there. And that brings us up to speed on that. Right, so then what we're going to do is we're going to go and talk about the Initiative and Fire Coalition. So basically the Initiative are in Curse, and then Fire Coalition are in Scalding Pass, Wicked Creek. They also are in Innsmother and Detteridge, but those aren't really affected. And what we've been seeing is just raw conflict happening between the two groups. So the Initiative have been primarily reinforcing structures, setting off iHub timers and so forth to create the fights, and then Fire Coalition have been responding. I have 3 battle reports here, and you'll see from these battle reports, so in this particular one, Legion of Death were on the losing side, and then on the next one, it was the Initiative that were on the losing side. And basically we're seeing the same 3 FCs pretty much each time, so they're having a whale of a time. We've got ISAM and Constantine on the Fire Coalition side, we have Dark Shines on the Initiative side, and they had a really, really big fight in AB-FZE on an Athanor, and then you can see that there were pretty much even Stevens there, pretty much even losses. So for the summer wardrobe for the Initiative is the Ishtar. I believe they did try some Harbingers at some point. That clearly didn't work for them. So they're going for Ishtars, accessorizing with heavy drones and sentry drones. And then basically Fire Coalition have been trying to make it work with the Munins. Although I'm still surprised to see the Vultures are still there, and the Claymores, which are always getting hit. Maybe they want to try and think about using T3 cruisers with links and warping them in and out. That might help balance out that loss sheet a little bit. And if you're interested, there's actually an Imperium video here. There we go, Forms of Munin Fleet. So this is linked in the description below. It was provided to me on my Discord. And this shows the fight in ABTAC between Fire Coalition and the Initiative. Okay, then I need to cover very quickly period basis. So last week, if you remember, there was an Astra House that did a loot drop. And I pointed out that 61 billion had been dropped. In fact, it was much closer to 200 billion. Apparently, I don't have exact figures because it's impossible to quantify this without these screen grabs. But it wanted to be clarified that it wasn't 61 billion, it was a lot more than that. So there we go. So apparently it's closer to 200 or even over 200 billion. And I needed to report that as potential inaccuracy. I got really nailed last week, I really did. So, okay, then we're going to go on to catch. Okay, so what I want to, actually there's something I need to bring up. With the battle report, this one here. So this was one of the Scalding Pass fight that happened between Fire and the Initiative. And the one thing I wanted to bring up was this, Siege Green. So Siege Green were fighting with the Initiative. And so this is what I was talking about, them double dipping, because Siege Green have been working with Legacy Coalition in catch against Drukaris. So 1 minute they're kind of helping FAPI side fight Drukaris, and now they are with the Initiative, which is on the Imperium side, fighting Fire Coalition, which is kind of involved with FAPI. So kind of an interesting situation there with Siege Green, kind of just taking the opportunities wherever they come and picking sides as they see fit. Because if we go back to catch, you will see that Siege Green are here, and they've taken a number of iHubs. And literally in the time of filming this, in the last few minutes, this system here has been lost. I think I've drawn something rather rude there. Let me just get rid of that. All right, so here we go. So this system here has literally just been lost. So it does look like Drukaris are fighting back and trying to take that sov back. So will it be interesting to see if we see Drakari's iHubs appear here or if they stay vacant. And so that will give us an idea then as to who is actually reinforcing these zero hubs and fighting over these iHubs in that region. So there you go. So that's what's going on in Catch. So I'm still laughing at my doodles that I did accidentally there. Right, so then we're going to go on to Fountain. So, oops, hang on, pressed on blog. I need to go to Fountain. So with Fountain, it's all happening up here. So J5A-IX. So if you remember a few weeks ago, an alliance called Out of the Blue stated that they were going to aggress into Fountain, and then kind of nothing really happened that much. But this week it pretty much kicked off with Out of the Blue attacking the Forsaken Empire Fortizar in J5A-IX. And the shield timer was done. The armor timer has now been fought over. I can't remember if I have a battle report for this. Let me just double check. I've got to keep track of, I've got so many battle reports this week. No, I don't have a, do I have a battle? Here we go. I do have a battle report for it. So this is for the armor timer over the Fortizar that belongs to Forsaken Empire. And so obviously the lead protagonist in this is Out of the Blue. But what is interesting to see is that dock workers came to help, and also Triumvirate. Now, Triumvirate are based up in the north. I can't remember if they're in Fade. I believe they're in Fade or Branch. They're in one of those areas, and they're very close to Volta at the moment. So also to clear up with Out of the Blue. So Out of the Blue are not Volta per se. There used to be two corporations that were in Volta, and then broke out and did their own thing, created their own alliance, which is Out of the Blue, and they are US time zone. But they are still very much blue to Volta. They are still very much in coalition with them. Hence why Volta will come and help them, as will Triumvirate. And then I think dock workers were potentially backphoned in for this situation. And Forsaken Empire had been basically dealing with this purely with FAPI rather than PAPI. So FAPI being the Fountain Book Club or Fountain Coalition. And so we have Celestial Empire who are here, and Federation Uprising are kind of the two main groups that are helping Forsaken Empire. They are the US time zone alliances within FAPI alongside Forsaken Empire. So those are why the three main groups that you're kind of seeing there. And Lollipop Monopoly show up as well, who I mentioned before, who were given a home by FAPI in Fountain. So there you go. Now it started off with carriers, and so the carriers tried to fight the Tengu fleet from Out of the Blue on the gate first of all, from Outer Ring into Fountain. But the Tengus were able to jam the fighters. They then withdrew back to the Fortizar. They then ran into still the problems of the fighters getting constantly jammed by the Tengus. So they docked up the carriers and then brought out a healer fleet, Healer Gila. Got themselves a little bit disorganized, but eventually they got there and a fight, as you see, broke out. It was pretty even as on the Lost Mail in the end, although the objective from Out of the Blue was completed and the Fortizar was reinforced. And that is now in final Heil timer. That timer comes out early hours, US time zone, Wednesday UTC. So we'll have to see if PAPI get back phoned in and whether the Legacy Coalition and Co and PamFam come along for this, or whether FAPI are going to fight this out on their own. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, so that's pretty much it. I don't actually have anything to say about Delve. There was a wormhole that happened early in the week to Laserhawk's home in 1DQ1-A, and that was pretty much it in terms of what's going on in Delve right now. So that's it. The last thing I wanted to bring up, obviously in Fountain, there was a Ragnarok that died. So it's the only Titan lost this week. I don't have exact details on what's happened. From what I understand, it may have been related to the cloak. He was in looks like a deep safe or in a safe, and may not have realized that the cloak now runs out and may potentially got scanned down. So that is a possibility of what happened. It is not necessarily a fact, but that is the most likely cause that I can see for this happening. But obviously, if the Titan pilot or anybody knows any more details, then I'd be glad to hear about that. Finally, the Hunter's Boon update. I talked about this over the last couple of weeks. I thought that was going to come out on the 6th. It didn't. It may have been because these changes were added quite late in the week, and they may have wanted a full week to go by. So none of this has changed since I spoke last week. So maybe we'll see this come online and go live tomorrow on the 13th. Obviously, the key things here is we've got an extension to the cloak with a booster. We can now lengthen the time of the cloak. Then we've got the interceptor bonus now, so interceptors will be able to lock faster again. The covert Sino comes in, the pacifier and the enforcer get a buff, and also we got the changes to the Bastion module, which I talked about last week, which means now Marauders will be able to be scanned out more easily than before. Okay, and then I just want to finish off with a video that came out, which you may want to check out. It's called The Best Space Game You'll Never Play. It is a really well narrated video. Really just kind of chill back and relax and watch this video all about EVE Online, or at this particular narrator's perspective on EVE Online, and it is a very good watch and I highly recommend it. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this week. I just need to do my giveaway. I just didn't do the giveaway, so giveaway right at the very end of the show. You see, I'm keeping you on your toes this time. Okay, so as always, Ravenscope syndication skin. I have 2 to give away. The keyword this week is going to be red, as original sinners have been made red to PanFam. This seems like an ideal word. It's a nice easy word as well to make up a sentence with, so I'll leave it to your imagination as to what you want to make red, or when you want to talk about this red. As always, the cutoff date is a week late, is the Friday following, which this time is Friday the 15th of July at 1800 UTC. And yeah, there you go. So go for it in the comments. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications, and mention me in your Corp Discord or Alliance Discords. Right, that's all from me. Thank you for watching. Until the next one. Bye.